website portfolio, so their own website, you can add that URL there as well. The next section is going to be education. So you'll want to include the university that you attended and the specific school that you attended within that university, the city and the state. You'll want to identify whether you got a Bachelor of Arts or whether you got a Bachelor of Science, the graduation date, so that'll be the month and the year, and the major and minor, your GPA, and I recommend just leaving off any high school stuff. You don't really need to include where you went to high school or any sort of awards or what year you graduated. The next section would be the honors and awards section. So you'll include this if you have 3 or more awards you can highlight. Otherwise, you'll want to just add this to your education section. It's fine. You don't need to have something separate. You'll put the name of the honor or award, and you'll also include the date. Again, it could be the month and the year. Next, you'll have your experience. Again, because we're working on the master resume, we're listing all of the experiences, regardless of whether they were unpaid. They could be work experience, volunteer opportunities, they could be internships, professional associations that you've ever been in, clubs you've been involved with, any type of leadership role at all. You'll want to include the city and state only. And you'll include the start date and your end date. And that, again, will be the month and the year. If it's current, you'll just put present. Depending on the amount of information, you also may want to actually divide the sections. So if you have like a ton of work experience and then a ton of volunteer experience, you can actually make those 2 separate sections as well. And this is a really important part. So for each experience you have, you're going to include bullets underneath detailing what you did in that role. What I like to do is to follow that formula that I provided on the slide. It says action plus 2 and then the purpose. So what you're going to do is you're going to tell us exactly what you did and make sure you add to or in order to or anything synonymous with that, and then the reason why you did it. So the example right there is participated in brainstorming sessions in order to create campaigns for clients. The action here is participated in brainstorming sessions in order to, or to, create new campaigns for clients. That's the purpose. Again, it's really helpful because you always want to tie it back to like, what was the overall thing? It's not, sometimes it's not enough just to say like, okay, I participated in brainstorming sessions. You know, sometimes the employers want to know, well, why you did it? What was the bigger project or goal associated with that? And it kind of gives a bit more importance to a lot of the tasks that you may have done in these roles. It's also really good to add numbers anywhere you can during the experience. So the second example says trained 5 new employees to ensure positive customer service and awareness of company policies and procedures. So again, we're able to pull a number in, we have the action, we trained 5 new employees, and we have our purpose. It was to ensure positive customer service and awareness of company policies and procedures. The next section is going to be your skills. So here you'll include any computer skills, any language skills, certifications, licenses. If you are into graphic design, social media, you'll also want to include those skills as well. Those are very, very, very like important, impressive skills, especially in today's day and age. So you definitely want to highlight those in your resume. I've also included an optional section. I think that this part of the resume really depends on the industry that you're trying to go into. If you just highlight all the sections that we've outlined right now, that's sufficient. If you find while you're researching the different industries that you're trying to apply to, that they typically, want to know the type of coursework that you do, you should definitely include that. I also included projects. So some folks actually don't have that much work experience, and that's fine. But if you were a part of any, larger project, even projects in your academic career, if you want to highlight those as well, you totally can. So some tips to keep the resume looking professional. So there's some formatting guidelines. So again, typically you want to keep it to a page, but when you do your the research on your specific industry, you'll understand whether or not it's okay to go past 1 page. But typically it is 1 page. So again, length 1 page. The font will be around 10 to 12 points with your name larger than the rest of the text on the page. And then you want to be consistent with the use of bold text and italicized text. If you're going to bold all of the positions that you've ever had, make sure you do it across the entire resume. If you're going to italicize where exactly you completed this role, then you should do it across the page as well. And again, with periods, if you're going to use periods, once or twice, you might as well just be consistent throughout the resume. A do that seems pretty obvious, but a lot of the times isn't, is just make sure that you pay attention to grammar and spell check. It's super, super important. You can have some of the best things on your resume, but if you made a mistake, didn't include proper grammar, didn't use spell check, and it's really obvious to the employer, it really doesn't matter. Some don'ts. Don't use logos, images, or graphics unless you are into graphic design or going into that industry. Then there may be instances where, again, there are exceptions, and that's okay there. I also would recommend not to use a resume template, typically because the resume templates have those like graphics and those pretty colors and designs, but it's really not as professional as you'd think. You're better off actually using like Microsoft Word and just building a resume out from there. So now we have our master resume done, right? We have this beautiful, like long, hopefully, amazing document. And so from here, you're going to use your master resume and you're going to build industry resumes. Now, this may sound like annoying when you first hear it, but it's actually really super easy because you've already done all of the work in step one. If you know you're going to apply to, for example, like research jobs, right? What you do is you copy and paste all the experience that you have related to research on your master resume, or maybe the skills that some jobs in the research industry are looking for, and you just copy and paste that onto your research resume. Same with if you were applying for jobs in like the legal field, you just copy and paste whatever's applicable from your master over to your legal resume. And then all the other sections, like your personal information, your education, honors, and awards, will be copied exactly the same across all of the resumes because that information doesn't change. And again, because the strategy is so helpful because you're doing everything up front in the very beginning, and you don't, again, run the risk of finding new opportunities, maybe in a different industry, and you have to sort of start again and try to draft and edit because you have all of that done already in your master resume. And then a tip that I included here was when you're submitting your resume, make sure no matter what to read over the language in the job posting and then tweak the words or copy verbs that are used there into your resume. The most important thing is you want to make sure that you show employers as much as possible that you can directly deliver to what they're asking for. You want to make that connection between your resume and that job posting as obvious as possible. So if you find like words that you used and then they use synonyms, try to pull those words over to your resume. Again, it'll really make the connection obvious for them. So I'm going to stop right here and pause. Deanna, did we get any questions in the Facebook Live or in Zoom or anything?
We currently do not have any questions. If anyone has any questions, you guys feel free to comment them, and with that, we'll answer. You can continue.
Awesome. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was developing the cover letter. So cover letters are a written marketing tool attached to a resume that introduces your brand while highlighting previous experience, academic backgrounds, and your skills. You'll want to go beyond what your resume says and really outline the connection between your experience and the position that you're applying for. And I've found that the best cover letters were able to tell a story about you while combining that experience, pulling the skills, and showing how all of that will really benefit the company and organization that you're applying to. The breakdown of the cover letter, which I have right here. So your first paragraph, first of all, before your first paragraph, your cover letter should have a header that includes your name and address. And what I like to do is actually just copy the header that I've used in my resume over to the cover letter, because these two documents tend to be submitted hand in hand. When you have the same header, I don't know, it sort of kind of feels like it really is like this package deal. It's like nice and neat and put together. So that's what I like. I feel like it offers this sort of like consistency, like the sense of consistency, and looks really professional. So for the first paragraph, you are going to state the exact, you're gonna make sure you state the exact position that you're applying for. You're gonna have a branding sentence to introduce your skill set, and you're gonna encourage the reader, the employer, to review the entire cover letter. In the middle paragraphs is where I think you, again, you have really the opportunity to stand out. So in your middle paragraph, you're gonna have a paragraph that goes into, you know, how you became passionate in the field that you're applying to. So for me, that meant talking about a previous internship that I did that sparked my passion for law and policy making. And that was the type of organization that I applied to. The following paragraph after that can be about how that organization fulfills the passion and how you would be an excellent candidate to help push the organization further. After that, you're going to highlight 2 to 3 aspects from your experience and then connect the position, connect that with the position and state why, again, you'd be successful in that role. In the last paragraph, you're going to be, it's going to be direct and to the point. You're going to include a brief thank you. You're going to mention that you look forward to discussing your qualifications further. You're going to include your contact, best place for them to contact you at, and then you're going to sign your name. Now, again, many people think that they have to write out a cover letter for every single job, but in reality, you only have to write a cover letter for every industry that you apply to. So for me, I only ever wrote 2 cover letters, right? One talking about my passion for research and another talking about law. And both of them highlighted different experiences that were common for the types of jobs that I was applying for. And in the end, all I had to do was just go in, tweak the cover letter to whatever organization name I was applying for, the name of the position that they listed, and I was good to go after that. So for the cover letter, formatting is going to be similar to the resume. You're going to have, it's going to be single spaced. It's going to be a font size between 10 to 12 point font. And then the margins are going to be from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. The tips that I've listed here is, again, to try to tie the language used in the job posting into the cover letter, similarly to how we're going to do it with the resume. If you are able to, try your best to actually address your cover letter to a specific person. This may actually require doing some research, going on the organization's website, looking at their staff page, because a lot of job postings tend not to include, you know, the person who's actually going to be reading your materials. But if you are able to find a name for the person who's actually going to be sitting there, I'm telling you, you're going to really stand out from the pool of other applicants. If you cannot, again, it's not a deal breaker. You can just use Dear Hiring Manager instead. I would break here for questions, but I think I'll keep going just because that was a short break. So the last piece of the application process that I wanted to speak about was LinkedIn. I really should have actually put making a LinkedIn account as a pre-step because I guarantee you that every organization that you apply for, every person who will read over your resume has a LinkedIn account and likely expects you to have one as well. For this section, I've just provided, you know, some general tips for how to make your LinkedIn look professional. The first thing that you want to aim is to have a complete LinkedIn profile. So it isn't enough just to have your, like, just to make an account and to have a name. You know, if employers look you up, they want to know what skills you have. They want to know where you work. They want to know the people, what people think of you. And so you really want to try to complete every single section of your profile. And LinkedIn has this really awesome completeness bar. So it will actually give you suggestions on ways to make it stronger. You'll also want to make a custom URL, which you can do straight from your LinkedIn account in the settings. So I would recommend doing this and then pasting that link onto your resume as opposed to like the long one that you usually get when you first make a LinkedIn. Make sure you have an awesome professional photo, you know, good lighting. We can clearly see your face, nothing too distracting in the background. Using, I said, utilize the summary space. So this is really your bio. Again, this is where people are going to click to read about you, to know about your brand. And this is the perfect space to outline what kind of work you're passionate about, how you became passionate in that, like what types of skills you have, the unique qualifications, again, the industries that you've been exposed to over the years. You can really, really utilize this space and make it something that is so intriguing to recruiters that are just clicking through these LinkedIn accounts. Again, you want to also highlight your best accomplishments with each of your roles, not just what you did. Actually, talk about what you accomplished in each of the experiences that you're going to highlight in your LinkedIn page. And then the last tip I have is to add multimedia. So if you've ever, written an article for an internship that ended up getting published or that you're proud of, if you've ever created a video for like a job or any sort of volunteer opportunity, if you're a photographer and you have like awesome photos, definitely link them to your profile under that specific experience. You'll notice that like not a lot of people on LinkedIn actually link multimedia, but when they do, it's actually takes their profiles to a whole other level, makes it very interesting. So yeah, highly recommend multimedia. And so that's it. Any questions?
Currently, no questions. Facebook has a little lag, so if you would just want to wait for it to catch up, and then if anyone has any last minute questions, we'll get those in and then we're good to go. Okay, I don't think anyone has any questions. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to write them in. Thank you, Walla, for volunteering your time with us. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to show our community how to land a job, fix up a resume. It was such a great session. We encourage you all our current graduates to send us their info for shout outs, and we're very proud of our community and all of your successes. Thank you to all of you for tuning in, and we hope to see you all in our future webinars. If anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to send them in while we have Walla. Okay, I think everyone is busy writing up the resumes using your advice.
Yeah, right. Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. Thank you so much for that.